Hi, Arnold.
Hi, Joe.
How are you, sir? Sorry I was late. I had a Zoom update, so thanks for being patient.
Zoom update. Oh, I thought you were going from one interview to another to another.
It happens, but yeah, sometimes in between it wants to update, and I think it's quick and it takes a while. So yeah, it's all good. Well, it's great to meet you. Where are you located?
I'm located in Romania, but I'm not Romanian,
Okay. All right. That's cool.
but
So
I'm Dutch. Yes, sir.
good deal. Well, I'm in Kansas City, Missouri, so it's great to meet you.
Likewise. And,
So
and and your picture beats mine.
yeah, it's one of my originals. I painted that a little while back. So yeah.
Wow, wow, it's a big one, right?
It's actually probably like a 16 by 20. It's not too big. It looks grandiose on screen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, I'm looking forward to getting into your life as the brain fitness trainer. It's a fascinating story. And to begin with, I want to know 4 years ago, we were trying to figure out this pandemic. How are we going to get through it? How did you survive that COVID pandemic? And how did it change the way that you do business now?
Um, for the pandemic, it didn't change so much in my life because at that point in time, I was the caretaker of my mother. My mother was then at the end of her 80s, but she had dementia, Parkinson, and some other stuff. Um, so I had to be home most of the time. Yeah, so it was not that I couldn't go out or do things, whatever, but because, well, I had to prepare food and give her stuff and make sure that she would fall. I could pick her up. And yeah, so so in that sense, it was not too much of a thing, but the main thing was also not to, well, get her infected because, well, she's old and frail and everything like that. But that means that, well, not many people coming around and there were nurses and so on helping her. So that was the COVID thing.
So let's get to the heart and soul of what you do on a daily basis. I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of third graders at career day, and one of the kids says, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How do you answer them?
My answer them is, you know what body fitness is? Body fitness is something which, in the way we know it now, started 30, 40 years ago. Yeah, when people get to understand that we need to move, we need to exercise to keep our body in shape, but also keep it healthy, keep it working, keep it functioning well. However, that's what we do for our body. What do we do for our brain? Mostly nothing, because most people, their brain changes a lot in their upbringing, the education, whatever. But by the time most people are around 25 years old, that's it. Yeah. It doesn't change much. It doesn't uh, um, really get some real difference or learning. Well, there's some people have a training or a course or whatever, but the major change doesn't happen. So that's why I say, just like body fitness, brain fitness is really crucial to stay healthy and to keep functioning. Because just like your body, after your age of 30, your body strength and all these things start to decline. First, it's at the slow pace, but the more you're older, it gets faster and faster. The same is true for your brain. Your cognitive abilities start to decline after you're 30 years old. So you have to keep on working and you have to optimize it that it won't happen.
So, what did you want to be in the third grade? What was your dream?
I had no clue.
Okay. Okay. So, how did we get here? Take me back to where you were born and raised and how brain fitness and taking care of yourself and your mind, how did all of that kind of evolve into who you are? What were the seeds that were planted?
Well, I'm Dutch and I'm born and raised in the Netherlands. And my brain fitness relates to my upbringing in my family because I would say my parents and my brother and my sister would now be labeled with mental illness. But when I grew up, that was not the case. Mm.
Yeah.
So that was my upbringing, which was very challenging, I tell you. Mm. And then fast forward many, many years, when I was beginning of my 40s, and um, I lost my job and my house, and I got a divorce. So, what you guys call a perfect storm. So, and then I started to realize where I had coaches, and they're like working on my emotional stuff and spiritual stuff and other physical and more consciously using your mind and everything around that. And I was like, holy moly, I had no clue I had these capabilities. So, and I was kind of a hotshot in the business world, but and I realized like about the rest of life, I know nothing. Yeah. And that is why I came to the conclusion is I really can upgrade myself by working on these other areas which have been mostly intentionally suppressed.
So talk to me a little bit about heroes. Who have been inspirations for you in the work that you've done?
Well, it's nice, Joe, that you asked that question just before this call. I was watching on YouTube, it was an interview about Ken Burns. I don't know him, but apparently a famous documentary maker in the US. He just finished making a documentary about Leonardo da Vinci.
Wow.
And Leonardo da Vinci is really, really my example, my inspiration, everything, because I'm extremely curious like him. And I didn't want to limit myself in just one small area, but that is not what our society wants. Our society wants you to choose, pick and choose one direction, be a specialist, be an expert, and do that. Well, number one, I didn't know what I wanted to do. And the other one was, hey, I'm so curious, why should I limit myself? So that is why Leonardo, with well, I totally don't compare with him. Let me not put it like that. But it's like totally incredible all the different things he's been doing, and I can totally relate to that.
So if you can meet one person alive on the planet that you admire for their brain power or who they are and spend a little time with them, who would it be?
The one, yeah, well, it would be Leonardo, but he's no longer alive.
Yeah.
Eh?
Yeah.
Um, it's a hard question. It's a hard question. It is.
How about this? How about we shelve this one for a second? Maybe give you a minute to think about it. And let me ask you this. What's the one thing that a common person out there can do to keep their brain active, to keep the muscle going? Because we all talk about, lifting weights and protein drinks and all these things for the body. But what's the one thing that people can do very simply every day to keep your brain and your acuity up?
Well, I have designed what I call daily rituals. And daily rituals is very simple. It's a set of questions which you ask yourself at the beginning of the day, and it's a set of questions which you ask yourself by the end of the day. You do that every day. And those questions are like, how did you sleep? But also, how were you kind to yourself and other people? How did you express your emotions? What was your learning? What was your creating? What was your caring for other people? So it's a bunch of questions and things what you do, but also like exercise. Did you sleep? Did you work? What did you eat? Hmm?
So what's your motivation every day to do the work that you do? What gets you out of bed? What gets you to help the client? And then to also save some back to evolve as a human being yourself.
Well, the main thing is mental wellness, well-being. There is so much suffering in the world with young people, with middle-aged people, with elderly people, and a lot of that suffering can be alleviated. That's what gets me out of bed.
So, what's the best advice you've ever gotten?
Follow your own path. Don't care what other people think or say.
So, of everything that you've done in your life up to this point and evolved into, what are you the proudest of?
The proudest is that I've had a lot of shit in my life, and that every time I overcome those obstacles and I've been growing. I've been growing as a human being.
So, let's say you have a dream tonight. You run into an 18-year-old version of you, and you could give that young version of you a piece of advice based on this life you've led, the wisdom you've gained along the way. What advice would you give your younger self?
Start thinking for yourself.
Yeah. So, everyone out there has a perception of you, family, friends, clients, everyone around you, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I'm a very disciplined, hardworking guy who constantly tries to help other people with what I've learned and created.
Anybody is listening to this that's kind of on the fence of like, I want to do more for my brain activity. I really want to I believe in this, but I don't know whether or not I should make the call. What would you say to them to make that jump to say, "Yeah, why don't you reach out to me and let's do something?"
In order to answer that question, Joe, I'm going back to a research which was done in a hospice in Australia, where a nurse asked people there in the hospice and say, "Tell me, what did you regret about your life?" And she did it for many, many years. And out of that came a top five. You know what the number one was?
What's that?
Living a life true to yourself. So that would be my advice.
Yeah. Yeah. So if anyone wants to reach out, if they're ready to go, how do they do that? How do they reach out and learn more?
Well, just go to my website, braingym.fitness, and you especially look at the tab masterclasses, look at some of the videos which you can have a look, and then you can buy and you can sign up for the training there. So I think that would be very helpful.
Excellent. Arnold, thank you, sir. Thank you for your time. Thank you for a wonderful story. Keep doing the great work out there. I appreciate it.
Likewise, Joe, thanks for sharing.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Take care.